What is real love? Real love is more than a word we casually toss around. It's a profound journey, an unshakable connection, a force that transforms. It isn't about perfection or grand gestures, but the quiet, unwavering commitment to seeing someone as they truly are and accepting them anyway. Real love begins with an often underestimated yet powerful act embracing vulnerability. It's easy to think of love as a series of grand gestures, expressions of devotion, or moments of joy shared with another person. But at its core, love demands something much deeper, a willingness to be seen, fully and completely, without the masks we so often wear to protect ourselves from judgment or rejection. Vulnerability is the doorway through which real love enters, and it requires the courage to step into that space of uncertainty and openness, knowing full well that there are no guarantees. To be vulnerable means to risk. It means opening up your heart, knowing that you might get hurt, that you might not be met with the same level of openness in return. Yet, it's in this risk that real connection is born. Without vulnerability, relationships remain surface level, never reaching the depth that true intimacy requires. We may share our time, our thoughts, even our bodies, but if we don't share our true selves, our fears, dreams, insecurities, and hopes, then what we offer isn't the full measure of who we are. And without that, love remains incomplete. As many people fear vulnerability because it feels like weakness. Society often teaches us to build walls, to guard our hearts, to never let anyone see the parts of ourselves that we think might be judged or rejected. We are told that strength lies in independence and that to rely on another person is to admit defeat. But real love turns this notion on its head. In love, vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the ultimate act of strength. It takes immense courage to let someone see you, to trust them with your deepest truths, and to invite them into the most fragile parts of your being. Vulnerability also means embracing the unknown. When we open our hearts to someone, we can't control how they will respond or what the future will hold. We have no way of knowing whether they will stay, whether they will understand, or whether they will reciprocate our feelings in the way we hope. This uncertainty can be terrifying, but it's also what makes love so powerful. Real love doesn't come with guarantees, and it's this very uncertainty that gives it depth and meaning. When we choose to love, despite the risks, we are making a profound statement that the connection we seek is worth the potential pain, that the chance to share our lives with another person is worth stepping into the unknown. In the act of being vulnerable, we also invite others to do the same. When we show up with our true selves, we create a space where others feel safe to do the same. This mutual vulnerability builds a foundation of trust and authenticity. It says, I see you and I'm here no matter what. It's in this space that real love grows, not in perfection, but in the messy, beautiful, honest truth of who we are. When both people in a relationship are willing to be vulnerable, they create a bond that goes beyond the superficial. They build a connection rooted in mutual understanding and acceptance, one that can withstand the challenges and storms that life inevitably brings. This vulnerability doesn't mean sharing everything with everyone or wearing our hearts on our sleeves indiscriminately. It's about discernment and trust, about knowing when and with whom to share our deepest selves. Real love provides that safe space. It's a sanctuary where we can let down our guard and know that we will be met with compassion and understanding. This doesn't mean that love is always easy or that we won't face moments of pain and disappointment. But it does mean that we have a foundation strong enough to weather those moments together. Another important aspect of vulnerability in love is the willingness to communicate openly and honestly, even when it's difficult. It means admitting when we're wrong, expressing our needs, and being willing to listen without defensiveness. It means having the tough conversations, the ones that make us uncomfortable but are necessary for growth. Real love doesn't shy away from these moments, it embraces them, knowing that true intimacy is built not in avoiding conflict, but in navigating it with honesty and compassion. To be vulnerable is also to be present. It's easy to go through the motions in a relationship, to say the right things and do what's expected, without truly being there. But real love requires more. It asks us to be fully present, to show up with our whole selves, and to engage with the other person on a deeper level. This presence is a form of vulnerability because it means letting go of distractions and defenses and truly opening ourselves to the moment and the person in front of us. Ultimately, vulnerability in love is about embracing the full range of human experience. It's about allowing ourselves to feel deeply, to laugh and cry, to hope and hurt. It's about being willing to face the possibility of loss because we understand that the richness of love is worth it. Without vulnerability, we may protect ourselves from pain, but we also miss out on the beauty and depth that love has to offer. Real love asks us to take that leap, to open our hearts, and to trust that even in the uncertainty, there is a profound and transformative power waiting to be discovered. Real love is not about finding the perfect person, it's about seeing an imperfect person perfectly. This profound truth underscores one of the most essential aspects of genuine love: acceptance. While the world often presents us with idealized notions of love, romanticized images of flawlessness and unending harmony, real love exists in a far more nuanced space. It's not a fairy tale or a quest for perfection. Instead, it's a deep, compassionate commitment to accepting another person fully, flaws and all, and recognizing that it is our imperfections that make us beautifully human. In the early stages of a relationship, it's common to focus on the best parts of the other person. We see their strengths, their charm, and the qualities that drew us to them in the first place. This phase can feel exhilarating, filled with the promise of an ideal connection. But as the relationship deepens, so does our understanding of the other person's humanity. We begin to see their vulnerabilities, their habits that might irritate us, and their past wounds that influence their behavior. It is in this space that real love is tested and revealed. True love doesn't just endure these revelations, it grows stronger through them. Acceptance means seeing these flaws not as obstacles, but as integral parts of the person we care for. This doesn't mean ignoring harmful behavior or settling for less than we deserve. Acceptance is not about tolerating disrespect or unhealthy dynamics. Rather, it's about understanding that everyone has imperfections and that loving someone means embracing their entire being, not just the parts that are easy or convenient. It means choosing to see the good in them, even when it's difficult, and recognizing that their flaws are part of what makes them unique and human. This kind of acceptance fosters a deeper connection because it creates an environment of safety and authenticity. When someone feels accepted, they don't have to hide parts of themselves or pretend to be someone they're not. They can be honest, open, and real, knowing that they are loved for who they are, not for who they are expected to be. Acceptance also requires us to confront our own expectations and biases. Often we enter relationships with a subconscious list of ideals, qualities we believe our partner should possess, or behaviors we expect them to exhibit. These expectations can become a source of frustration and disappointment when they are not met. Real love asks us to let go of these rigid ideals and to see the person in front of us, not the version of them we might have created in our minds. This doesn't mean abandoning our standards or values, but it does mean recognizing that love is not about molding someone into our idea of perfection. It's about appreciating them for who they are with all their complexities and contradictions. In many ways, acceptance is a mirror. Our ability to accept others is often a reflection of our ability to accept ourselves. When we struggle to embrace our own flaws and imperfections, it becomes difficult to extend that grace to others. Real love, therefore, begins with self-acceptance. When we learn to love and honor ourselves, including the parts we might wish were different, we create the foundation for loving others in the same way. Self-acceptance doesn't mean complacency or an unwillingness to grow. On the contrary, it means acknowledging our imperfections while striving to become the best version of ourselves. It means recognizing that we are worthy of love, not in spite of our flaws, but because of them. When we extend this acceptance to our partners, we create a space where growth and transformation can occur naturally. Ironically, it's often in the presence of acceptance that people feel most motivated to change, not because they are being pressured or criticized, but because they feel seen and valued. Real love provides the encouragement and support needed for genuine personal growth. It says, "I see you, I love you, and I believe in your capacity to evolve." This kind of love fosters resilience and intimacy because it is rooted in a deep respect for the other person's journey. Acceptance also means letting go of the need to fix or control. In relationships, it can be tempting to try to help our partners by pointing out their flaws or suggesting ways they could improve. While this might come from a place of good intention, it often creates a dynamic of judgment rather than love. Real love doesn't seek to change the other person to fit a specific mold. Instead, it supports them in their own path of self-discovery and growth. It recognizes that each person is responsible for their own journey and that true transformation comes from within. This doesn't mean that we never express our needs or set boundaries. Acceptance and accountability are not mutually exclusive. Healthy relationships require open communication and a willingness to address issues when they arise. But this communication is grounded in compassion and respect, not in a desire to control or criticize. It's about working together to navigate challenges while maintaining a deep sense of appreciation for each other's humanity. In the end, real love is about seeing clearly. It's about looking beyond the surface and embracing the full complexity of another person. It's about choosing to love not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. Acceptance is the bedrock of this kind of love. It is what allows us to build relationships that are not only enduring but also deeply enriching. It transforms our connections from superficial encounters into profound bonds that can weather the storms of life. When we practice acceptance, we create the space for real love to flourish, a love that is honest, resilient, and beautifully imperfect. Real love is often misunderstood as a form of possession and need to control, define, or shape another person to fit into our lives or expectations. However, at its core, true love is about freedom. It's not about binding someone to us or molding them into our ideal partner. Rather, it's about supporting their individuality, nurturing their growth, and allowing both partners to evolve within the relationship. Real love is liberating because it respects the uniqueness and autonomy of each person, fostering an environment where both can thrive without feeling restricted or confined. One of the biggest misconceptions about love is that it requires control to ensure security. This belief can lead to possessiveness, jealousy, and an unhealthy desire to dictate the other person's actions or choices. We might think that by controlling the relationship or the person, we are protecting ourselves from pain or disappointment. But true love doesn't thrive under such conditions. When love becomes about control, it ceases to be about connection. It becomes about power, and power dynamics undermine the very foundation of a healthy, loving relationship. Freedom in love means giving space, not just physical space, but emotional and psychological space. It's about allowing your partner to be their authentic self, even when that self doesn't perfectly align with your expectations or desires. This kind of freedom fosters trust because it shows that you believe in the strength of the relationship and the integrity of the other person. It communicates, I trust you to be you, and I trust that our connection is strong enough to withstand individuality. This trust is the cornerstone of real intimacy. When both people in a relationship feel free to be themselves, they can share more openly and honestly, creating a deeper and more meaningful connection. True love also recognizes that each person in the relationship is on their own journey of growth and self-discovery. It understands that the purpose of a relationship is not to merge into one indistinguishable entity, but to walk alongside each other as equals, supporting and encouraging each other's personal development. This means celebrating each other's achievements and dreams, even when they don't directly involve us. It means being genuinely happy for your partner's successes without feeling threatened or overshadowed. Real love doesn't compete, it complements. It understands that the growth of one person enriches the relationship as a whole. Moreover, freedom in love involves letting go of the need to change or fix the other person. It's natural to want the best for someone we care about, but real love doesn't try to impose its own vision of what that best looks like. Instead, it respects the other person's autonomy and supports them in making their own choices. This doesn't mean turning a blind eye to harmful behavior or avoiding difficult conversations. On the contrary, real love involves open communication and the willingness to address issues. But it approaches these conversations with respect and empathy, not with the intent to control or dominate. It's about guiding, not dictating, supporting, not suffocating. Freedom in love also means allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. It requires us to let go of the need to control how we are perceived and to show up as our true selves, even when it feels risky. This kind of vulnerability is a form of freedom because it liberates us from the burden of pretense. It allows us to be honest about our fears, desires, and insecurities, creating a space for genuine connection. When both partners are free to be vulnerable, the relationship becomes a sanctuary where both can find acceptance and understanding. Additionally, real love respects boundaries. Freedom doesn't mean a lack of structure or limits. It means creating a relationship where both partners feel safe and respected. Boundaries are an essential part of this. They define the space where love can flourish without fear of being overrun or diminished. Healthy boundaries allow each person to maintain their sense of self while building a shared life together. They prevent resentment and burnout by ensuring that both partners' needs are acknowledged and respected. Another important aspect of freedom and love is the willingness to let go when necessary. This can be one of the hardest lessons to learn. Sometimes, loving someone means recognizing that holding on too tightly does more harm than good. It means understanding that true love is not about possession or permanence, but about honoring the connection, no matter what form it takes. This doesn't mean giving up easily or avoiding commitment, rather. It's about recognizing that real love cannot be forced. If a relationship is no longer serving both people, clinging to it out of fear or a desire for control only creates suffering. Real love is brave enough to release what is no longer meant to be, trusting that the bond was meaningful, even if it wasn't meant to last forever. Ultimately, love's greatest gift is the freedom it offers to be ourselves, to grow, and to experience life fully. It's a freedom that comes from knowing we are accepted and valued, not for what we provide or how we conform, but simply for who we are. This kind of love is rare and beautiful because it requires us to let go of our fears and insecurities. It asks us to trust in the strength of the connection and in the worthiness of the other person. In a world that often equates love with possession, choosing freedom can feel radical. But it's in this freedom that real love is found, a love that liberates, empowers, and transforms. It's a love that doesn't seek to bind or control, but to uplift and inspire. It's a love that allows both people to become the fullest, truest versions of themselves, creating a connection that is not just enduring, but deeply enriching. Real love is a transformative force, one that demands not just emotions, but action. It's easy to express love in words, to say I love you, and make promises about what we feel. But true love extends beyond verbal affirmations. It is demonstrated through consistent actions that reflect care, respect, and commitment. Love is not passive. It requires effort, intention, and a willingness to show up every day, especially when it's not easy or convenient. It's through these actions that love becomes real, tangible, and enduring. One of the most profound ways real love shows itself is through the small, everyday actions that might seem insignificant but collectively build the foundation of a strong relationship. These are the gestures that often go unnoticed: listening attentively after a long day, remembering important details, or offering support without being asked. Such actions communicate a deep level of care and understanding. They show that we are not just thinking about ourselves, but are attuned to the needs and feelings of the other person. These small acts, repeated over time, create a sense of security and trust, demonstrating that love is not just a feeling, but an active choice. Consistency is key. Anyone can perform a grand romantic gesture or say the right words in the heat of the moment. But real love is shown in the consistency of our actions. It's about being there day after day, in both the ordinary and the extraordinary moments. It means showing up not just when things are good, but also when they are challenging. It's easy to love someone when everything is going smoothly, but true love reveals itself in times of adversity. When we choose to stand by our partner, offering support and compassion even when it's difficult, we demonstrate the depth of our commitment. These moments of steadfastness are where real love is forged and strengthened. Love in action also means prioritizing the other person's well-being. This doesn't mean sacrificing our own needs or becoming selfless to a fault. Instead, it's about making intentional choices that show we value and respect the person we love. It might involve compromises, but these are not seen as losses. Instead, they are viewed as opportunities to foster a deeper connection. When we prioritize our partner's happiness and well-being, we create a relationship dynamic based on mutual respect and care. This is the difference between loving someone in theory and loving them in practice. Actions also speak louder than words when it comes to understanding and empathy. Real love involves a willingness to put ourselves in the other person's shoes, to see things from their perspective. This empathy is not just a passive acknowledgement, but an active effort to understand their experiences, feelings, and needs. It's about listening without judgment, validating their emotions, and being present with them in their moments of joy and pain. Empathy is not always easy. It requires patience, humility, and a willingness to set aside our own perspective. But it's through these acts of understanding that real love deepens. Another essential aspect of love in action is honesty and integrity. Real love is built on a foundation of trust, and trust is maintained through transparency and sincerity. This means being truthful even when it's uncomfortable, admitting mistakes, and taking responsibility for our actions. It also means being reliable and following through on our commitments. When we demonstrate integrity in our actions, we show our partner that they can depend on us. This creates a sense of safety and security, which is essential for a healthy relationship. Real love also involves acts of forgiveness. No relationship is without its conflicts and misunderstandings. When we love someone, we choose to see beyond their mistakes and shortcomings, offering forgiveness and grace. This doesn't mean ignoring harmful behavior or allowing ourselves to be mistreated. Instead, it's about recognizing that we are all flawed and that true love involves a willingness to work through challenges together. Forgiveness is an active process that requires letting go of resentment and making a conscious choice to move forward. This act of forgiveness strengthens the relationship, fostering resilience and a deeper connection. Moreover, love in action means supporting our partner's growth and dreams. Real love doesn't stifle or limit, it encourages and uplifts. It means being their cheerleader, celebrating their successes, and encouraging them to pursue their passions. This support is not conditional or self-serving. It's not about what we can gain from their success, but about genuinely wanting the best for them. When we actively support our partner's growth, we create an environment where both individuals can thrive. Love also requires acts of vulnerability. It's not just about giving, it's about being open to receiving love and allowing ourselves to be seen. Vulnerability means showing our true selves, including our fears, insecurities, and imperfections. This openness can be challenging as it exposes us to the risk of rejection or hurt. But it's through this vulnerability that real intimacy is formed. When we choose to be vulnerable, we invite our partner to do the same, creating a space for authentic connection. In a world where love is often portrayed as a feeling or an ideal, it's easy to forget that it is, at its core, an action. Real love is demonstrated through the choices we make, everyday choices to be present, to be kind, to be honest, and to support each other's growth. It's about showing up, not just in grand gestures, but in the small, consistent acts that build a strong and lasting connection. Love is not passive, it's an active, ongoing process that requires effort and intention. When we choose to love in action, we create a relationship that is not only enduring but deeply fulfilling. Real love thrives on respect and equality, two foundational elements that ensure both partners feel valued, heard, and understood. Love is often romanticized as an all-consuming passion or an emotional high, but without respect and a sense of equality, even the most intense relationships will falter. These principles are what transform love from a fleeting feeling into a lasting connection. They create a space where both individuals can flourish individually and together, without one person's voice, needs, or identity being diminished. Respect in a relationship begins with recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of the other person. It's about seeing your partner as an equal, acknowledging their individuality and valuing their opinions, feelings, and boundaries. Respect means that both partners feel safe expressing themselves without fear of judgment or dismissal. It fosters an environment where open and honest communication can thrive because each person knows their perspective matters. When respect is present, disagreements become opportunities for growth rather than battles for dominance. Both partners can listen to each other not just to respond or defend, but to truly understand. Equality in love doesn't mean that both people are identical or that they have the same role in every situation. Instead, it's about balance. It's about ensuring that both voices carry weight in decisions and that neither person feels overshadowed or undervalued. In many relationships, imbalances can develop when one person's needs or desires consistently take precedence over the others. Over time, this can breed resentment and undermine the partnership. Real love seeks to prevent this by fostering a dynamic where both individuals feel empowered and heard. It involves recognizing and challenging any unconscious biases or patterns that may create inequity and working together to build a relationship based on mutual respect. Respect and equality also manifest through emotional support. In a healthy relationship, both partners support each other's goals, dreams, and personal growth. This support is not conditional or self-serving. It's not about expecting something in return. Instead, it's about genuinely wanting the best for the other person and celebrating their successes. When both people in a relationship feel supported and encouraged, they are more likely to take risks, pursue their passions, and grow as individuals. This kind of emotional support is a powerful expression of respect because it shows that you value your partner's aspirations and want to see them thrive. Another critical aspect of respect is the acknowledgement and protection of boundaries. Boundaries are not walls meant to keep your partner out, they are guidelines that define what is acceptable and necessary for each person's well-being. In a relationship rooted in real love, both partners understand and honor each other's boundaries. They communicate openly about their needs and expectations, and they respect each other's right to say no. This creates a sense of safety and trust because both individuals know that their limits will be respected. When boundaries are crossed, it's a sign of disrespect, and it can erode the foundation of the relationship. But when boundaries are honored, it strengthens the connection and fosters a deeper sense of intimacy. Respect also involves appreciating and embracing differences. No two people are exactly alike, and real love doesn't seek to erase or minimize those differences. Instead, it celebrates them. It recognizes that diversity in perspectives, experiences, and interests can enrich the relationship. This doesn't mean that differences are always easy to navigate. Sometimes they can lead to conflict or misunderstanding. But in a relationship based on respect, both partners are committed to working through those differences with empathy and understanding. They see each other's uniqueness as a strength, not a threat. As equality in love extends to the sharing of responsibilities and decision-making. In a healthy relationship, both partners contribute to the partnership in ways that feel fair and balanced. This doesn't necessarily mean that everything is divided exactly 50/50, but it does mean that both people feel their contributions are valued. Whether it's household chores, financial responsibilities, or emotional labor, both partners should feel that the load is shared and that their efforts are recognized. This kind of equality fosters a sense of partnership and teamwork, reinforcing the idea that you are in this together. Respect and equality also play a crucial role in conflict resolution. Disagreements are inevitable in any relationship, but how they are handled can make all the difference. In a relationship based on respect, conflicts are approached with a mindset of collaboration rather than competition. Both partners are willing to listen to each other's perspectives and work together to find a solution. They avoid resorting to personal attacks or trying to win the argument. Instead, they focus on understanding each other and finding common ground. This approach not only resolves the immediate conflict, but also strengthens the relationship by building trust and mutual respect. Real love also means respecting each other's autonomy. Each person in the relationship is an individual with their own identity, interests, and needs. Respecting this autonomy means allowing your partner the freedom to be themselves without trying to control or change them. It means supporting their independence and encouraging them to maintain their own friendships, hobbies, and goals. This kind of respect fosters a sense of security and trust because both partners know that their individuality is valued. Ultimately, respect and equality are what transform love from an infatuation into a deep, enduring connection. They create a relationship where both partners feel seen, valued, and empowered. Without them, even the most passionate love will eventually fade. But when love is rooted in respect and equality, it becomes a powerful force for growth, connection, and mutual fulfillment. It becomes a partnership where both people can thrive, not just as a couple, but as individuals. Real love is not possessive or controlling, it thrives in an atmosphere of freedom and trust. Many people mistakenly believe that love means holding on tightly, trying to shape or control the person they care about. This approach often stems from fear, the fear of losing the person, of being hurt, or of facing uncertainty. However, true love flourishes not through possession, but through allowing space, individuality, and the freedom to grow. When love is genuine, it doesn't seek to cage or limit. Instead, it encourages authenticity and respects autonomy. At its core, possessiveness is rooted in insecurity. It arises when one partner fears losing the other or feels inadequate in some way. This fear can manifest as controlling behavior, wanting to know where the other person is at all times, dictating their actions, or expecting them to prioritize the relationship above all else. While these actions may be masked as concern or love, they actually stem from a desire to maintain control. Real love, by contrast, is built on a foundation of trust and security. It doesn't demand constant reassurance or proof of loyalty because it is confident in the strength of the connection. Trust is the cornerstone of a healthy relationship. Without it, even the strongest love can be eroded by doubt and suspicion. Trust means believing in your partner's integrity and intentions, even when you're not together. It's about giving them the benefit of the doubt and resisting the urge to monitor or control their behavior. This kind of trust creates a sense of safety and freedom. Both partners know that they are valued for who they are, not just for what they can provide or how they make the other person feel. This sense of security allows each person to be their authentic self without fear of judgment or reprisal. Freedom in a relationship doesn't mean a lack of commitment or boundaries. It's not about being indifferent or disconnected. Instead, it's about creating an environment where both partners feel free to express themselves, pursue their interests, and grow as individuals. This freedom is essential because it allows love to evolve. People change over time, and a relationship that stifles growth will eventually become stagnant. When both partners feel free to explore their passions and develop their identities, they bring new energy and depth to the relationship. This ongoing growth keeps the connection vibrant and dynamic. Real love also respects the other person's autonomy. It recognizes that each partner is an individual with their own thoughts, feelings, and needs. This means allowing your partner to make their own choices and supporting them, even if those choices don't always align with your own desires. It means understanding that your partner is not an extension of you, but a separate person with their own journey. This respect for autonomy fosters a deeper connection because it shows that you value your partner for who they are, not just for what they can offer you. Controlling behavior, on the other hand, often leads to resentment and conflict. When one partner tries to control the other, it creates an imbalance of power and erodes trust. The controlled partner may feel suffocated or devalued, leading to frustration and a sense of being trapped. This dynamic can also breed dishonesty because the controlled partner may feel the need to hide their true thoughts or actions to avoid conflict. In contrast, a relationship based on freedom and trust encourages open communication and honesty. Both partners feel safe sharing their feelings and experiences because they know they won't be judged or punished. Freedom in love also means allowing space for individuality. It's easy to lose oneself in a relationship, especially in the early stages when emotions are intense. However, real love doesn't require sacrificing your identity. It encourages both partners to maintain their own interests, friendships, and goals. This individuality enriches the relationship because it brings diversity and new perspectives. When both partners are free to be themselves, they can contribute more fully to the relationship, creating a partnership that is balanced and fulfilling. Jealousy is another common manifestation of possessiveness. While it's natural to feel jealous from time to time, real love doesn't allow jealousy to dictate behavior. Instead of seeing other people or interests as threats, a secure partner trusts in the strength of the relationship. They understand that love is not a finite resource. Their partner's connections and experiences outside the relationship do not diminish their bond. This trust creates an atmosphere of mutual respect and confidence, where both partners feel secure in their connection. Real love also involves setting healthy boundaries. These boundaries are not about controlling the other person, but about protecting the relationship. They involve clear communication about what is acceptable and what is not, and they ensure that both partners feel respected and valued. Boundaries create a framework for freedom because they establish trust and clarity. Both partners know what to expect and what is expected of them, reducing the need for control or possessiveness. Ultimately, real love is about giving, not taking. It's about supporting your partner's growth and happiness, even when it requires letting go of your own fears or insecurities. This kind of love is liberating because it allows both partners to thrive as individuals while building a deep and lasting connection. It's not about holding on tightly, but about holding space for growth, authenticity, and mutual respect. When love is free from control and possessiveness, it becomes a powerful force that empowers both partners to become the best versions of themselves.